Do you sometimes sit back and fear for the country and fear where the country is heading?
Fear is too strong a word. I have deep concerns, yes.
Okay.
But I remain an optimist. I really believe that we've been damaged severely in the past 9 years under Zuma rule. I think there were 9 lost years.
What was wasted during those 9 years?
Well, with the corruption which took root so deeply, and with us falling into a new form of racism, the opportunity to really build a non-racial, just society, to reach greater equality, have been wasted.
You mentioned that there are some organizations and some political parties, of course, that are campaigning on the basis of race and dividing society. Some have argued that even this organization calling itself Black First, Land First, BLF, that's one of those organizations. For instance, one of their policies is that they will not be accepting any membership from a white member who wants to be part of their party. Just your take on this.
Well, I think it's wrong in a country where we are striving for non-racialism.
What do you say to them when they say that F.W. De Klerk must be arrested, this same organization?
Well, they've laid the charge. I haven't heard from the prosecuting authorities. My hands are clean and my conscience is clear.
Some have said before, these hands have blood all over them.
It's not true.
Mm-hmm. What's your argument to that?
My argument to that is I've never been part of a policy saying kill people.
But here's the thing about that. If you look back to 1992, for instance, the Buipatong massacre, and then he was just a member of the ANC and part of leading the negotiations, Cyril Ramaphosa accused you as well as the police of being complicit in that massacre.
It was later found by court that it was definitely an Inkatha assault and that the government was cleared of any complicity in that.
Mm-hmm. So you feel that you've been wrongly blamed?
I've definitely been wrongly blamed.
Do you think that the National Party at least should take some blame for propping up Inkatha Freedom Party?
I appointed the Goldstone Commission. It was my initiative. His investigations resulted in finding that in military intelligence, certain activities were taking place against my policy, that the security forces should stay out of politics altogether.
Operation Marion is something that keeps on coming back.
You have to refresh my memory.
Yeah, this is the operation where it was said that the South African Defence Force at the time propped up the IFP because the IFP needed, or the application was to you, I guess, or rather to the National Party, F.W. De Klerk at the time, that Mangosuthu Buthelezi needs protection because of the violence that was taking place in KwaZulu-Natal.
Yes, I think that has been found that it did happen, mm-hmm. and it was justified, I think, in principle, because he was the minister of a semi-self-governing area of South Africa, KwaZulu. His life was threatened. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission failed to investigate 400 more or less cold-blooded assassination of senior people in the Inkatha Freedom Party. They never touched it. They never got to the bottom of it. They never investigated those incidences which are proven that they have taken place. So, yes, I have no problem in principle with an office holder of an important office in a constitutional structural system of a country being offered protection when his or her life is threatened.
But the TRC says that that the squad was deployed illegally against persons and organizations perceived to be opposed to enemies of both the South African government and Inkatha. So it's not about the individual, it's not about Mangosuthu Buthelezi himself, but it's more about the organization, the IFP, and it's also about the government of the day.
The people were trained, that was what I was told. Mm-hmm. The people were trained in order to protect people who were threatened.
Yeah.
Whether they've been misused or not, I don't know, and I leave that to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission to their findings being tested by history.
Do you then think, if we move on, you're speaking about secret funds that were, I think, given to the security forces at the time, that issue needs to come to light. People must be held accountable. How exactly they did that?
It did come to light. I appointed a special commission of specialists from outside government to investigate. I can't remember the names, but it was highly respected people from civil society to investigate the whole secret fund situation. All governments have secret funds throughout the world. And to distinguish between those which was in the country's interest and which should be continued and those which should be scrapped. And a mass of that was scrapped, and it was one of the first things I did when I became president. Under my presidency, this was taken in full review and changed from where it was, where there was the opportunity to misuse such funds, to strict control and the use of secret funds only for legitimate purposes.
But were the companies ever held liable?
I don't know which companies you are referring to.
If there are companies that are being found to have siphoned these money or that have been found to be giving this money to the secret force, have they ever been held liable? Because that's the other thing, that's the other debate that's been happening.
I don't know about that. Let the facts come forward.
Yeah,
I don't have a problem if the law takes its course. I just think we shouldn't be so caught up in the past that we don't focus, as we should in this interview, on where do we need to go in South Africa, rather than rake up things which happened 30 and 40 years ago, as if that will change the future.
And I guess because the problem is that some people are still pained. You, for instance, speak about how the TRC did not go far enough for other reasons, and the victims of some of those people the families rather of some of the victims of the apartheid government also make the same argument that the TRC didn't go far.
I have sympathy for that. I'm not unsympathetic at all.
So we can't leave this just in the past by not speaking about these issues.
That is why there was a Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
But it didn't go far enough. Both you and I can agree on that, right?
It didn't go far enough in certain instances. It didn't leave one stone unturned to investigate government and security force involvement. There they did a proper job. It's only when it comes to black-on-black violence that they didn't go far enough. I'm not justifying apartheid in any way whatsoever.